will admit that it took so long. The speaker didn't know, which I cannot defend because I'm not part of the leadership. He's right. I'm sure if my leaders have informed the speaker that we're holding a meeting and we'll be back, definitely he would have waited. We have to approve. So media, I decided not to talk, but what I saw at the conference center when I was coming, I'm entreating you, I'm pleading with you to be very objective. You see, taking entrenched position to support a political party will not help this country. And if you know the power of the media, if you do your work well, the respect you earn, I'm begging you, you are jeopardizing your positions in society because of the way some of you politicize issues, and it won't help this country. We all want to move forward. I personally don't care whoever wins, so long as we have a peaceful country that you can breathe into. That is why I don't preach for war. If not, I would have also encouraged whatever going on. I want to be the fate of the country. Today I shouted at my young man because he asked me a question, why are you running away? How can I run away? Let me tell you what actually happened this morning, which the leader did not address. He saw me meeting. So we took a decision that, look, Ken, go with the leadership, engage the speaker and the NDC people, then we go in. Because we need to consult the speaker and the minority group before we go in there. And unfortunately, when we went there, he was sitting. And we had to walk away. Now, the question is, where NDC was sitting, where did you want me to go and sit?
Sir.
Where?
Or if you go and fight them.
Do you want me to go and pull my chair from my colleague from the other side? No. We don't want that January 7th, 2021, what transpired at the chamber to continue to be a precedent. No. So, peacefully, I just walked out with Deputy Majority Leader and the two whips. We want peace to prevail. So please, you are the mouthpiece of this country. Whatever you do, if you do it right, it will benefit the country. You go wrong, the whole country will be doomed. So don't let us politicize issues. Be objective, pragmatic, and first, you should all love this country. Look, 6 weeks or 2 months ago, Burkina, they lined people doing whatever they call trenches, and 600 of them, they shot them. Is that what we need in this country? Because of somebody's power, nobody, whether you're NPP, NDC, any political party, will push me to go and take arms. It won't work. We have nowhere to go, only Ghana. So you should be mindful of whatever you are going to say. This politics where politicians, journalists have taken trench and politicians have taken trench, it won't help us. So I'm begging you, what actually happened today, it was not deliberate that we were boycotting, but we wanted to get understanding from the speaker. So we were at the caucus meeting, and maybe I will admit that it took so long.
But that is even allowed in parliamentary culture.
I engaged Honorable Agyapong and told the minister, oh, then you made a mistake. You should have informed the speaker that you were at the caucus meeting. The speaker didn't know, which I cannot defend because I'm not part of the leadership. And I'm sure he's right. I'm sure if my leaders have informed the speaker that we're holding a meeting and we'll be back, definitely he would have waited. So,
you know, Ken, it was the onus was also on the so-called majority group leaders to inform the speaker, where are your colleagues? And he will tell them they are in caucus. They want to tell us that nobody knew that we're having a caucus meeting.
Well, he can be Epimenides and sit on the fence, because even if he knows, and once there's no official communication, I can pretend I didn't know. That one day, I can pretend that I didn't know.
People sitting on our seats.
Yeah, that's the problem. I've posed that question because I entered the chamber.
A pre-sitting meeting after the Supreme Court has stayed his ruling, said to us as leadership that he has not declared the NDC as the majority. Neither has he expressed a constitutional opinion on those 4 individuals, and that what he did amounted to an opinion that he expressed on the statement by Honorable Kesil Atoforsen. At the said pre-sitting meeting, I, on behalf of my colleagues, the majority, inquired from Mr. Speaker whether our friends who were seated to his right would be allowed by him to sit there, because that was not their rightful place, in view of his own admission that he had not proclaimed them as such nor declared them as such. Speaker responded that indeed certain arrangements of Parliament was a responsibility of the clerk to Parliament. This took me to the next step of inquiring from the clerk whether he allowed the NDC minority to sit on our seats. He said, indeed, we had our name tags, that is the NPP majority had their name tags at those seats that we already occupied, and that it was not he who did that. So obviously, one was expecting Mr. Speaker to direct the NDC to do the right thing. He refused. Subsequently, Mr. Speaker engaged the Council of State, or perhaps let me say the Council of State held meetings with Mr. Speaker as a majority leader and leader of government business and leader of the House. I had the opportunity to also meet with them. The understanding I had from the meeting as a sequel to the meeting they had already held with Mr. Speaker was to the effect that Mr. Speaker will direct the NDC minority to sit at their right place, which is the left of Mr. Speaker. That was the understanding I had. I subsequently had a call from the Peace Council. The Peace Council informed me that they had engaged Mr. Speaker on the issue before Parliament, and Mr. Speaker had indeed indicated to the Peace Council that he had not ruled, neither has he proclaimed the NDC minority, and that should we resume or should Parliament reconvene, the NDC minority will go back to their seats. Several other prominent Ghanaians, who for some good reasons I would not want to mention their names, who had engaged Speaker on this matter, had also reached out to us, the majority caucus, and assured us that Mr. Speaker's engagement with them resulted in he admitting that indeed there was no such ruling, which ruling would now proclaim the NDC as a so-called new majority. Now, from the horse's own mouth, granted that all these prominent people misrepresented to us, the majority, yesterday, Mr. Speaker himself in his press conference in the afternoon, enumerated a number of things. Amongst them, he said he had not made a ruling. He told the whole of the country that he had not made a ruling. So, if he claims that what he did was a formal communication in response to a statement from the minority leader, then why is he supervising chaos in the House? What Mr. Speaker did today amount to supervising chaos and bringing the image of democracy to disrepute. Yes. The NDC minority members were all over claiming that we, the majority, did not attend a so-called business committee meeting that they called. Who are they? When did we constitute a new committee in Parliament? I chaired the business committee of Parliament. And when the clerk to Parliament asked for the business committee meeting, I was very explicit that the subject matter of the recall, which was approved by Mr. Speaker, is a very matter for consideration. So there's no need to have another business committee. Business committee is to decide on the business of the House. On this occasion, you have made an application, which application has been granted. And the items that were approved were the very things to be decided on. So I directed that the order paper should be printed to reflect all those items. Fortunately, Mr. Speaker himself read the two letters, the first one and the second one that amended the first, and indicated to the whole country that indeed our deputy majority whip, the second deputy majority whip, had actually sent those letters to him. He acknowledged him as such. Clearly, the NDC is on a war path. They want confusion in this country. They want lawlessness in this country. And all these are being supervised by Mr. Speaker.
Yes.
It is sad. It is very sad. And I would want to entreat you, the media, to call them out, to call the NDC out, to call Mr. Speaker out. Because what is it? What at all is the issue? You have made a ruling which you now say is an opinion. We disagreed with you. We've gone to another forum where, by law, that forum has the power to interpret the law. We respected Mr. Speaker's ruling. In all of these, my first interview after his ruling was with the fact that I respect him, I disagree with him, therefore my colleagues and I were withdrawing from the chamber and will pursue the matter at the Supreme Court, which matter he was already aware was pending at the Supreme Court. And I will repeat the point I made a week ago. Mr. Speaker had assured me in the presence of the second deputy speaker, Honorable Amwakwesiama, in his office, that in view of the pendency of the suit, although the NDC had filed that petition, which petition was mounted by Harun Idrisu, he would hear them, but will wait and abide the decision of the court. I was fair enough, I was transparent enough to have engaged him as a head of this assembly, that because Haruna had raised the issue and to avoid confusion, I was going to the Supreme Court to seek interpretation. I did not go to Supreme Court in bad faith, and it wasn't the case that a matter was happening in Parliament and I ran away to the Supreme Court. I ran away from Parliament to Supreme Court to seek refuge. No, I foresaw confusion. And indeed, what Harun Idrisu filed, why did they set it aside? Harun Idrisu had initiated a process under Order 99 of our rules, which will require a process to be set in motion. Why did they suddenly come under Order 93, which allowed for a statement, when in the history of this Parliament since 1992 did a statement metamorphose into a motion, which motion now will require a ruling? You see,
for you.
Speaker's Speaker is setting the country on fire.
Yes.
Yesterday, we were disappointed with his non-reconciliatory posture during this press conference. Indeed, we, the majority caucus, call on Mr. Speaker one more time to demonstrate statesmanship.
Yes.
We want Mr. Speaker to know that although we were not happy on the day he was elected, some of our colleagues perhaps has seen something good in him. It wasn't the NDC that put him there for him to do the bidding of the NDC. Perhaps people felt that he could be someone who will bring all of us together.
Yes.
There are things that we cannot say into the camera. But Mr. Speaker is hurting democracy.
Yes.
What Mr. Speaker is doing is to rehearse what the NDC is likely to do should they lose power, to bring chaos, to cause confusion. How can Mr. Speaker say that he respects the Constitution, but he will not subject himself to the dictate of the judiciary? How can you say that the judiciary is in collusion, is colliding with the president, and you mention the president as a person, as an individual? How? What Mr. Speaker is doing is in bad faith. First of all, he subjected himself to the jurisdiction of the Supreme Court. And after losing at the Supreme Court, he turns around to attack the Supreme Court. His own lawyer, my respected senior Thaddeus Sori, in court, argued forcefully that Mr. Speaker made a ruling, and he sought to justify the so-called ruling and even challenge the jurisdiction of the court in entertaining my application. For him, the matter comes under Article 99 of the Constitution and not under Article 97 G and H of the Constitution. To the NDC lawyer, to the Speaker's lawyer, who had received firm instructions from the Speaker, the position of the Speaker was home and dry, was on all fours right, and that Mr. Speaker had ruled, and that those members could not come to Parliament. Again, he had emphasized that the right forum was the High Court. Yes. All these points canvassed by Mr. Speaker's lawyer were overruled. The matter was heard in the full glare of the public. There was a live broadcast of the Supreme Court proceedings of that day. The ruling of the Supreme Court has been procured by me as plaintiff. The Supreme Court bailiff has served the ruling, the second ruling, on Mr. Speaker. His lawyers were given up to 3rd of November to file their written submissions, statements of case in defense, if any. So what are all these, perhaps I call it ex cathedra statement of Speaker, creating an impression as though those statements he's making are an authority on their own. It cannot be. A true Democrat will respect the rule of law.
Yes.
And that is why we decided to respect him. You know, ladies and gentlemen of the press, NPP, our tradition is to respect rule of law.
Yes.
It's out of deference to Mr. Speaker. That is why we did not enter the chamber. That we should share in that chaos theater with them. Never.
We will do that.
We will not. NPP will not. We will not. Therefore, don't be swayed by their lies and their propaganda. The chaos they started is what they want to end. We will not allow that. We believe that we have to win the elections right at the polling station, and would go and work. Right now, what the NDC has done, basically, are the following. One, they don't want Ghanaians to receive their pay, public servants, because they know that after the elections, there will be no budget. And to be able to pay Ghanaian workers, there will be the need for parliamentary approval of the budget first quarter. That would be on account, appropriation on account. That's it's a constitutional requirement. So that is what they want. They want to stampede it. 2, they want to again create a certain impression that Ghana is lawless. Ghana is not lawless. We will not allow them to give a wrong impression to the international community. We will respect the law. 3, all these businessmen, you know, their fear is that under the 1D, 1F, these companies are going to create jobs. These companies will employ people. So their fear is that should these be addressed, it will mean that all their propaganda of unemployment would fall flat. So further to frustrate businessmen and drive them away. Are these Democrats?
No.
Now there are important things to do. We have the free SHS bill, which is before Parliament. Their main aim is to conspire with Mr. Speaker to prevent the free SHS bill from being passed. And in an unlikely situation where they see the light of day in the election, cancel it. That, oh, after all, there's no law backing it. Their main target is a free SHS bill. That is why there was a pre-announcement of its laying in Parliament, and you remember how they fought against it. So it's an opportunity for them to, as it were, prevent the free SHS bill from being passed. And if they succeed in doing that, to them, in their wishful minds, in their wishful thinking, parents will get upset and then say that after all the free SHS was not working. The free SHS has benefited many Ghanaians in spite of the challenges. We know as a country the reforms that have been made by 2 ministers, Dr. Matthew Opoku Prempeh and Dr. Yao Educhum. These 2 gentlemen who were assigned to superintend over the education ministry have done so well, and the outcome of their works is known to all Ghanaians. This is what the NDC want to set back. Thank you very much indeed. I would want... Now, they also made some noise in the chamber. They also made, you know, they double talk. They double talk. They do double speaking, double talking. Whenever a person lies, he fails to even be inconsistent. In the chamber, where they rushed to go and sit, and again, the clerk this morning, we pre-inspected the chamber. The clerk diligently arranged our name tags at where they were. They came and they physically removed them. And this is where, with the greatest respect and in all humility and in all modesty, my dear friends in the media, help us to shape opinion in the right way.
Get the message across properly.
Get the message across. They came in there and unlawfully removed our name tags, pulled their chairs to our place and sat on our seats. And Speaker, the cameras, I was watching in my office, and I'm sure you guys are set up. You set your cameras up proud to Mr. Speaker's arrival. You saw what happened. Let the Ghanaian people know. Now they said our members were not present. They claim that those, if indeed the Supreme Court had ruled, why were those members who were affected not in the chamber? Because Mr. Speaker has said nothing about them. This is what Kwame Agboja, making that point. Honorable Kwame Agboja said the members have had a favorable ruling from the Supreme Court, so they should have come. Really, if the Supreme Court ruling is being respected by them, why did they move to the right of Mr. Speaker?
Why
My respected colleague Cynthia Morrison is here. I said it in my plaint in court that she remains a member of our caucus, and she's here with us as a majority caucus. Nothing short of that. So I would want you to take note. Now, we look forward to engaging Mr. Speaker in the next few hours and days. We pray that he does the needful. If he doesn't do the needful, we will continue to rely on the law to get the right things done. The partisan politics that they are festing on us in the chamber must cease, must end. Parliament is a chamber for decent people. Parliament is a chamber for tolerant Democrats. Parliament is a chamber for people who want nation building without taking advantage of situations to score cheap political points. We will yield to these high values and high tenets of democracy. Thank you very much.
No question. Okay.
No.
Okay, we'll allow some few questions. Okay.
Majority leader.
Yes.
Majority leader, two things. First,
Who is going to do the tree for us?
there are those who have said that by the conduct of Mr. Speaker, he has gone against the ruling of the Supreme Court, and by his refusal or failure to actually ask the NDC MPs to go back to their minority side, he might be in contempt. Is that the view you share?
Yes.
And then lastly, there are those who said that if he's in contempt, that would mean that he has breached his oath of office and you may even initiate process to impeach him.
Well, let's engage him.
He's right on both.
Let's engage him. Get him to appreciate. Let's get him to appreciate the consequences of not obeying the Supreme Court decision, and let us also pray that civil society and Ghanaians in general will prevail upon the NDC lawless minority to know that decency is the rule of the game. Thank you very much. She is a member of Parliament. Listen. Wait. You see, wait. I will not in any way attack any media house, but I believe that the discourse is a two-way traffic. For instance, I won't mention that station's name, but a station invited me, and when I went for a program, after we had agreed on the issues, they now said to me that a big man from that station says that they should address me as leader of NPP caucus. And I asked that a Speaker of Parliament has made a pronouncement. Granted, at the first instance he was right. A superior court has overruled him, so the status quo has been restored. Further, the Speaker has challenged the first decision of the court. All right, and that has been adjudicated upon, and it has been determined. So 2 rulings have come out after his ruling, which he calls an opinion. Is there an issue of who is in majority and minority? You, the media, I want to ask you. So I would plead with you, no matter how you feel, let us all help with the law. We all know in the US, in the US, I'm referring the media to something that happened in the US. We all know that CNN leans towards the Democrats. If you watch CNN carefully, you will know that CNN leans towards the Democrats and Fox leans towards the Republicans. But as soon as Trump was elected, CNN put all their biases aside and went straight. In fact, they were among the first news, let me finish, to have projected Trump's victory in spite of all their disagreement with Trump's views or political views. You get my point? And I would want to urge on you, the media, to do same. You may not be in support of NPP. I agree. Yenina ya dream to me ya baako. Yenina media yen to me ka say media bi antro dia eye NPP for there. But se court kasa. Me pe situation a media betro say eye Afenyo Marking, leader of NPP group. Afenyo Marking ni NPP for eye majority. Exactly. And that is the law. Exactly. Mumbua speaker of Fuma Monka. Yes, we have Fuma Monka. Na Ghana baku pena ewo. Their NDC for ni ya no person Ghana ejeto fum. No man kan kire so wa fum. Understand so by. Their speaker di kan ye no. Speaker, their speaker di kan ye no. Ye yan kuntokwa o. Oka di oka ye no. Ye ndidi na tem. Ye ka chen say speaker. Wo de waka. Ye di court. Na court ebia asem no. Court edi kan ebia asem no. Speaker si on ti ase of a lawyer. Emma lawyer no call court. Eko kasama onu speaker said there be the Supreme Court ka no wafo Supreme Court afom. Supreme Court e di asem no. Ghana nyina hwe TV. Ena Supreme Court aka said there be speaker. Enya wu tumi na obetumi aka say obi seat we declare vacant. Eyenyen inti asem no eda yenim. Asem no so beda ha na wo ya aware. Inti eba ne sen ena say wo be kasasa. Speaker lawyer nankasa ka say speaker ye ruling. Okoso justify speaker say mo kan. E ma ne ka say Supreme Court ko na ye wo no. Enye wo ne the right forum je say ye kwa high court. Sanse man ni lawyer kan ni na court e den ebogu ye. Nti dia na ye expect an opay ni say speaker any NDC for no beka saka chom say there be baby amote na ye ho na mote. E ho no ye edom kase NPP for yeah, Afenyo Marking omo anu sa Afenyo Marking ye omo majority leader omo ekonwa but speaker wan yes sir obetra wono oye se we hu baby ankrofo ne te ba ni nyina ne se oni omo nyina no omo ye baako omo nyina NDC ansa na NDC for be bibi no no ankasa oni no omo nyina adwen ho nti omo nim de omo ye wo be hwe endra press conference or yeah no press conference or yeah no one kasa say ope enkabom ana akroye or attack your mampeni or attack judiciary Supreme Court e kan sem bebria yen esan say ye bu no binti no yan be respondo say ya tie de oka ye tie but yen MPP for embra na ye disuniti yan be kase ntia no ne ye expect say nde or the court assembly edwuma and then put there obi ano an lawyer akọ court no wan ka court wan asem kra wan ka se wa court ama we din kugo aninti no and then you anum nyina wa ha dia ye be se ye kan se ye be di mbra so ye ntumirika eni ne omo nkoko ntokwa NDC for there omu bibia ye ntokwa omu bibia ye ntokwa omu bibia ni ntokwa so omu di enyoma be sai wo Ghana na Ghana aye basabasa ye de ya dwen oma no ye ma bibi sense ye da mo ase answer to this
no be answer Charlie, your answer. Wait, she's
still a member of Parliament. Are you still contesting as a candidate?
Hey, I answer that question.
Of course, I'm still a member of Parliament. The ticket of MPP. Thank you.
I know why. You're a member of majority.
Okay, thank you.
Okay,
thank you very much.
Thank you. The content, no, the content will come, and the impeachment will come after the content. Who impeach him? That one.
But we have said it. Yes.
What is that?
Yes. That will make sure that he follows due process. Colleagues, I think an important point. Patrick has raised an important point. Yes. We will continue to compel the speaker to follow due process. We recall Parliament. He has come to illegally adjourns Parliament Synod without engaging us, knowing that there was chaos. There was chaos in the chamber. And he knew that the right thing to do was to engage us and to get the NDC to sit on his left. He refused to do that. So we would compel Parliament to sit. And for the right government business to be transacted. We are going to do it. We will not allow the Speaker to have his way. He's not a member of Parliament. The Speaker is not a member of Parliament. He presides over Parliament. We, the members of Parliament, determine the business of Parliament. So we'll recall Parliament again. I'm saying that we'll recall Parliament. We'll recall Parliament. We'll recall Parliament.
This Parliament expires on the 6th of January 2025. So we have time. Yeah, done.
NPP caucus in Parliament there, addressing the press led by the caucus leader, Alexander Apenyo-Makin. It's been, a long 20 to 30 minutes listening to the NPP caucus in Parliament. Let's take let's now talk to Professor Enoch Owusu-Enchi, who's been monitoring the situation. He's also a governance expert. Prof, good afternoon to you, and thank you so much for your patience. But you've been listening in. You now know, the NPP caucus position on why they were absent again today. I want to hear your thoughts on what you've heard so far.
Yes, greetings to all your viewers and listeners all over the world. And I'm really shocked about what is happening in our parliament. We have a situation where the Speaker has suspended Parliament, Sunday, permanently. And then the majority or the minority. So if you look at the issue here, of all the 30 minutes that the majority or the minority leader talked about, because now we don't know who's the majority and who's the minority. It depends on which side people stand. I think that our people need to be enlightened, because the enlightened ones are, you see, neither attached to nor detached from their sense of thoughts. So here we need people to be enlightened about what is going on. You want the Speaker to sit to talk about issue and transact government business, and yet when the Speaker convenes the House, you don't show up. That baffles my mind, because the only way you can talk about these issues is to sit at the Parliament. So only 2 issues are being fought on, with all the press releases and the statements that the media is being bashed. The Speaker is being bashed, and everybody is being bashed. I listened to him talking about even CNN, Democrats Party. That is not true. The issue here is that they are fighting over who is the majority or who is the minority and which party stands or sits. So we want to sit on the right side because we are majority. You have to sit on the left side because you are minority. I don't think that matters. This Parliament, by our constitution, sits 28 weeks and then goes on recess for 24 weeks. So if you look at our current, Parliament, it is a part-time job. You sit for 28 weeks and then you go on recess for 24 weeks, the whole year. And if you look at what we have in the Constitution, we have just about a week or 2 for this Parliament to be resolved. And they are all going to run for Parliament, for re-elections, and new people will be coming within 30 days. Why they are fighting for who is the majority and who is the minority and where somebody should sit and where somebody should not sit baffles my mind. Does that matter? Whether you sit on the right side or on the left side, because you're talking about government business that should be done. He talked about salaries of workers. He talked about free SHS policy that is there. We still have 2 Supreme Court judges to be approved by Parliament. There are a lot of things that need to be done. And then go sit in Parliament, whether you sit on the left or the right, talk through the issues, let's vote for them. But they do call what they call the pre-sitting meeting with the Speaker, asking the Speaker questions. Where are we going to sit? And the Speaker says that that's the job of the clerk of Parliament, not my job. So they want to know where they're going to sit and whether they are majority or minority before they go to Parliament. That shouldn't be the case. And I'm really surprised about what is going on there. If you look at what the Speaker is doing, we all have copies of the Constitution. 97 G and H talk about, I don't want to quote it because of time. But it says that if you leave the party which you became a member of parliament, then you are no more. And then the age says that if he was elected a member of parliament as an independent candidate and joins a political party, it's clear. So what is happening is no news. The Constitution has stipulated all this. And we all know legal experts have analyzed this issue home and abroad and are saying that the speaker was served wrongly. So the speaker didn't even know how to respond to the letters and all the rulings from the Supreme Court. This issue is coming from Parliament. Parliament is separated from the judiciary. Now, what is happening is that if somebody had taken the issue to a high
Very well,
court,
Prof. Just a few things I want us to consider from what we've heard so far from the NPP caucus leader. He said that the reason they are not there is because the NDC caucus took the lead and have sat in where they think they should be sitting. I wonder what you think about that.
That should not be a problem where you sit. It doesn't matter about what you talk about. So it is, am I a majority and am I going to sit on the right? If I'm not considered as the majority and I'm not going to sit on the right, then I won't show up in parliament. This is the issue of contention here. But I'm saying that that shouldn't be the issue. That shouldn't be the, because if I'm going to discuss government business and making sure that...
you know, I'm running out of time, but just a couple of things before you go. What do you think about seeing, you know, Cynthia Morrison, the Gomoa West MP, who is one of the 4 whose seat is now being contested?
I think that Cynthia has come out with where she stands, that she's contesting as an independent, right?
But she was with the NPP caucus leader when, you know, he was addressing the press today.
Well, that is a choice because we have standing orders. When the speaker spoke and suspended parliament again indefinitely, he said that the orders, the business order, how do you go to a meeting without an agenda? And Afenyo Makin indicated rightly that he is the chair of the business committee. So if you are the chair of the business committee, then come with the agenda that the speaker is going to talk about. Of course, there's forum. We have over 100 NDC members of parliament in the house. So they might form a quorum, but then there's no business to discuss. We all know Robert's rule of business. If you go to a meeting without an agenda, what do you discuss? Of course, then the speaker is right to suspend the house indefinitely.